Hello and a warm welcome to you who join me. I hope you feel right at home. My name is Julia and today we're creating another Halloween card with a caffeinated animal. But I start with a piece of my background and blend 3 Distress Oxide Inks, Speckled Eggs, Wilted Violett and Chipped Saphire. I blend the colors in random order and focus more on laying down a good coat of color and saturating my paper than a smooth blend. I go back and forth between my inks until my paper is filled with vibrant colors, and as always I must darken my edges with black soot. I bring out this shattered glass stencil from Tim Holtz and use post-it tape to create a hinge between my background and the stencil. This idea isn't mine, I've seen a few card makers do it before. I bring out my die-cutting machine and cover the ink-blended background with a piece of paper. Then I spray my stencil with a good coat of water. I want water droplets on the stencil. Battling my clumsy self, I quickly remove my paper and smash my wet stencil against the background and push the stencil and the background through the die-cutting machine a couple of times. I'm left with a background that both have the stencil pattern in the ink and also embossed into the paper with the pressure from the die-cutting machine. The water on the stencil reacts with the ink and the plastic stencil is pushed into the paper, creating texture. I trim off everything that wasn't under the stencil and have this lovely piece of colorful textured background, because I didn't think before I darkened the edges the last time. I must now go over this piece with Distress Oxide black soot again. The wonderful card maker Nicole sent me this out-of-the-world Halloween card that glows in the dark. She has a YouTube channel named Nilje's Creative Outlet that you should check out. She also sent me the Caffeinated Spider stamped on the best cardstock. This coffee-hungry spider will be the star of this card. I color my spider with Arteza Real Brush Markers in turquoise and purple shades, as always moving from light to dark, trying to accentuate his fuzzy grumpiness with my shadows around the eyes and fuzzy body. I had some camera trouble and lost the part where I colored his mugs, but they were just straightforward grey. When the spider is done, I start thinking and decide I want the spider to hang over a big cup of coffee. And I draw this cup without measurements, just eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. But for the sake of details and the joy of drawing, I decorate my big mug with spiderweb and color the mug with grey and blue-grey alcohol markers. I fussy cut out my cup of coffee and do as I always do with a cut out image. I go around the white edges with a black marker, making the image fit and give the project a more clean cut look. I have this spiderweb stamp set from Marianne Designs and put the smaller spiderweb on my stamping platform, and I stamp in VersaFine Onyx Black and then coat the spiderweb in clear embossing powder and heat set until it's black and shiny. I decided on the sentiment "Scream and Sugar Please" and print it out on regular printing paper and cut the sentiment to fit the little speech bubble that comes from the spider. I glue the black speech bubble on the white cardstock, leaving a little border, and ink up the edges of the sentiment strips with wilted violet and black soot, and then I glue the small word strips on my speech bubble. Then I decide that I need splashes and use distress paint in black soot and white picket fence to flick black and white splashes from an acrylic block. To create this wood-like pattern on my cardstock, I use this stamp. Of course I lost that footage, but it was just me stamping and not being careful because much of this wood will be covered up with my main panel. I darken the edges as I always do with black soot and vintage photo. It's time to assemble my card, and this time there are a lot of layers to put together. First I assemble my black layer on top of the white cardstock with double-sided tape. I often peel off the backing of the tape in the corners, and when I decide on a placement, I pull off the rest of the backing so I don't have to eyeball it and lose the framing white and black layers. I often use liquid glue because it gives me some time to move the layers before it's dry. But my glue stash is low, so I use the double-sided tape this time. I do the same procedure on the wood layer and the 3 layers behind the spider. When all my cardstock layers are in place, I attach the mug, speech bubble and spider on the card. I use foam tape and I have the thin, cheap one, so I double up with 2 layers of foam tape to make these center stage elements stand out and have dimension. My card is almost finished, but before I'm done I use a white gel pen to create some highlights, and then I use Glossy Accents on the sentiment, the little mugs, the coffee in the big cup, and the spider's eyes to give them some gloss and dimension. And then this card is done. I hope you feel some Halloween vibes and feel inspired. I have so much more coming up, so make sure to pop by soon again. Until the next time, goodbye for now.